In this video, we are going to multiply decimals using models. There's the objective. You can see that it clearly states that we are going to be using pictorial models, including area models. I'm going to focus on area models in this video. What multiplication problem does this image represent? So here's a hundreds grid, and it looks to me that we have some rows shaded one color and some columns shaded another color. Well, we have 8 rows. All right, so there we are. I've sort of brought them forward, taken all the grids out so we can clearly see that that is 8 rows that have been shaded kind of that beige color there. Well, as a fraction, that's 8 rows out of 10. Right? I think that's pretty easy to see. I think fractions allow us to see parts out of wholes. That's 8/10. We have 5 columns shaded. There we go. It's that light green color. So that would be written as a fraction. 5 out of 10 columns are shaded green. 5/10, written 5/10. Now let's take a look at the overlap section. Okay, kind of that brownish section there. We can see that's not a whole row. Those aren't whole rows, those aren't whole columns, just kind of a rectangle there in the corner. Well, we know that's 40 squares. 40 squares. 40, there they are. 40 out of 100 squares, because in a hundredths grid, obviously that's a total of 100. So 40 out of 100 would be 40 hundredths. So let's put this all together. We have 8/10 shaded the rows, we have 5/10 shaded as columns, and we have 40 hundredths written shaded as these squares in the corner. So if we wrote that as a sentence, what multiplication problem does this image represent? 8/10 times 5/10 equals 40 hundredths. Reminder, with this type of problem, your answer will follow this format. Tenths times tenths equals hundredths. So, example number 1, let's take a look at this. First, it looks to me that we have 6 rows, 6 out of 10, that's 6/10. We have 2 columns, so that's 2/10, or 2/10. And in that little area there at the top, kind of that darker purple color, we have 12 squares shaded where they overlap. 12 out of 100 squares, 12 hundredths. So written as a sentence, 6/10 times 2/10 equals 12 hundredths. We can see the fact, 6 times 2 equals 12. You should be able to see that. But we're working with decimals, so we can't just leave the decimals out. But 6 times 2 times 12 equals 12, I should say. That makes sense to us. Now, this example is a little different, right? You can still see we have a part of a hundredths grid, but we certainly don't have a hundredths grid. In fact, we only have one column. We're going to call that 1, right? So we have 1 stick. If these were base 10 blocks, we have 1 stick. So we need 1 and 3/10. So we need 3/10 to tack on to this guy. So let's give him 3/10. So that is 1 whole stick and 3/10 of another stick, or 3 little squares out of 10. Now we're going to multiply that by 4. This is the basic model of 1 and 3/10 times 4.